Hello crocheting cat friends! Today we're going to make a little goldfish cat toy. The things you'll need to make this are some worsted weight yarn in whatever color you want your fishy to be, and a second color for the eyes. Doesn't have to be a whole heck of a lot of yarn for those eyes. We're only going to use them for about 2 stitches. You'll want a 4mm crochet hook, you'll want some yarn needles, and you'll want some scissors. If your cat likes catnip, you could put some dry catnip in there, and you'll also need some sort of stuffing, maybe polyfil, maybe some scraps of yarn. That's it for that. We're going to start with the body and then we'll work on all of the tails and fins. That is everything you need to know before we get started. Thanks for joining me, guys. Let's go. We have to play yarn chicken together here. See if this is enough to make it through a whole goldfish. We'll start with our magic circle. I'll show you how I do them. You can do it however you like. I will cross my long end over the short end. Take my hook, go through front toward the back, and then I pull up 2 loops, keeping the short end running along that side of our circle. I'm going to go in, wrap, pull up, wrap, pull through 2 to create a single crochet. And I'm just going to do that 5 more times. So you end up with 6 total single crochets worked into our magic circle. When we get to the end, we give that short tail a little pull just to close it up, and that's the very beginning of the body of our little fishy here. So once you have all those, grabbing that short tail, pulling as tight as you can. You can see that brings it all together. And then we're going to go through that very first stitch you made, making sure we're getting both pieces of that little V shape at the top there, wrap our yarn, and slip stitch through both of those. So our next little round will be increasing. We're going to chain 1 to get us up to the height of the next round, and then we will single crochet 2 in each stitch around. So we're making the single crochet the exact same way. The only difference is here we're going to go back into that same spot. So now you can see there's 2 in there. We're going to do the same thing on the next one. We're going in, wrap, pull up, wrap, pull through 2, and then back into that same space. We're going to keep going all the way around. When you get to the end of this round, you should have 12 stitches in total if you're counting from across the top. And then our next round, round 3, is going to be just plain old single crochets, 1 in each stitch. That'll take us to still at 12 stitches. And then we are going to keep going. Okay, we're almost at the end of round 2 here. Just like we did with the first round, we're going to find the very first stitch we worked, wiggling our way into those top loops there, wrap, pull through, and then pull through the one on the hook, chain 1. We're just going to do a single crochet 1 in every stitch around, so you'll end up with 12 stitches again for round 3. So go ahead and do that, and then I'll meet you back for round 4. That plain round for round 3 is done. Before we start working on round 4, I'm just going to flip this inside out, take that tail we started with and a yarn needle, threading that tail onto our yarn needle. I'm going to grab a leg of any one of those first stitches we started with, and I'm just going to make a simple knot to keep that tail from coming loose at all, so the hole in the very beginning can't come undone, and that'll keep the tail safe from our cats kind of pulling out that little knot there too. Okay, so for round 4, we got a little increase round here. We are gonna flip. Yep, I already did that. We're gonna stay with the right side out, and we're going to single crochet 1 in the very first stitch, so just a plain single crochet, and then the next one will be that increase. So we're gonna do 1, and then again in there, and we're gonna do that same pattern all the way around. So we're going 1 single crochet and 2 single crochets in the next stitch. So repeating that all the way until you get to the end. You'll end up stopping with an increase stitch. You should have 18 stitches across the top, and then we'll meet back up for round 5. Round 5 is going to be where we put maybe some optional little eyeballs in there. So if you want to add the eyes, keeping your second color of yarn handy, and we'll go ahead and meet you there for round 5. Okay, round 5, we have single crochets all the way around, nothing too fancy other than the fact that we're going to change color a couple times to add in our eyeballs. So our first 4 will be plain single crochets, going in, wrap, pull up, wrap, pull through 2, and 1 more, finishing all the way off like that. And number 4 will be just a tiny bit different. We're going to go in, we're going to wrap, pull up, and then we are going to tie on our black yarn here. Normally you wouldn't necessarily have to tie it, but we are going to double knot the yarns together just because if you're going to give this to a cat, we want it to be as secure as possible. So we're going to tie that black. We're keeping our hook in those loops. That way they don't loosen up or tighten up too much. And we're just pulling that all the way down. And again, I'm going to double knot it. And I'm keeping my knots toward the inside of the toy. So for the last part of that stitch, I will wrap with the black yarn and pull up. And then I'm going to go into the next stitch, wrap, pull up, and then I'm switching back to the orange for the next 8 stitches. So we're going in, 1, 2, we're going to keep going until we get to that 8th one. We're going to stop just like we did before we finish off the 8th stitch so that we can switch back to that black yarn or whatever color yarn you're using for your eyeballs. Okay, and 1 more here, and again we're going to wrap, pull up, and we're going to switch back to the black yarn. So we're just pulling it over, and to make sure that I don't get a tug here, like a pull or a weird shape in my toy, I'm just going to take the black yarn and press it along the toy. I don't want the toy to stretch, so as long as it is just flush with the inside, I'm just going to hold it there, and then I will wrap that black yarn, pull up, and make that next one. So now we're done with the black yarn, so we can finish with the orange here. I start the next one just so the black doesn't come loose, and then I'm going to tie off. So I'm going to cut that black yarn away, and again, just like I did before, I'm leaving the hook in there so those loops don't get any looser or any tighter than we want them, and just double knotting toward the inside of the toy. And that's it. That's the only time you're going to color change at all for this whole toy, so you don't have to worry about any other yarns from here on out. So now we're just finishing. Should have 4 stitches left. When we get to the end, we'll slip stitch, and we chain 1, and then we've got round 6. So round 6, 7, and 8 are all going to be worked just a plain single crochet in each stitch, working with just the one color, whatever color your fishy is. And at the end of each round, you should have 18 stitches. At the end of each round, you slip stitch, we'll chain 1. So we'll finish all those 6, 7, 8, just plain single crochets all the way around, and we'll meet back here for round 9. Okay, our first 8 rows are done. Working on round 9, we're going to have a little decrease here. So first we're going to do 4 plain single crochets. So just working 1 single crochet into each of the first 4 stitches. And once we have those 4 done, we are going to single crochet 2 together. So I like to grab just the front loops. You can do whatever kind of decrease you like. So if you don't like this decrease, you don't have to do it. So just the front 2 loops of the next 2 stitches, we're wrapping our yarn, pulling up, and then we're going to finish it like a plain single crochet. We're going to wrap and pull through the 2 on the hook. So we'll do that again. We're just going to have 4 plain single crochets, and then when we finish the 4, the next 2 stitches will be worked together to decrease. So maybe you're going through those first 2 stitches with me, or first 2 loops of those 2 stitches with me. Wrap, pull up, wrap, pull through those 2. And you can already kind of see it's starting to curve in, getting a little smaller, working toward the back end of our fish. So again, it's just 4 plain single crochets, This is going to take us from 18 stitches down to just 15 for this round. So we are working those very last two together, and we will slip stitch, chain one, and we are ready for round 10. Round 10 is going to be another decrease round. I'm going to take this opportunity to grab all my tails and just shove them inside the toy. We'll leave them there. We don't have to worry about weaving them in or anything. And we are going to work 3 single crochets into the first 3 stitches, and then we'll decrease again, working the next 2 stitches together however you like. And we're going to repeat that pattern, so it's going to go 3 plain and 1 decrease all the way to the end. That'll take you down to 12 stitches. We'll slip stitch to join, we'll chain 1, and then it's our time to add any kind of catnip or whatever you want to put in there, stuffing, whatever kind of stuffing you like. And we've got just one last decrease round after that. Almost done with the body. I'm starting to feel a little okay about my chances of winning this yarn chicken. I'm going to say halfway through the body I didn't think I was going to make it, but now I think maybe, just maybe, we are. So you could add the stuffing before you do that slip stitch, just to keep that opening a little wider if you want. So you're going to go ahead, if you're putting catnip in, I usually recommend putting it in first, then your stuffing, so the catnip doesn't flake out all over you as you're working. And once you have as much stuffing as you want in there, we'll meet back here for that last decrease round of the body. Okay, round 11 is going to be our last decrease round, our last round of the body before we start adding on fins and tails and all that. So we are going to slip stitch to join that round 10 there, previous round, now that we've got our stuffing in there. Chain 1, and we are going to do decreases all the way around. So the very first one is the hardest one to get into. Just trying to get that front loop only, if you can. And then same thing on the next one, front loop, wrap, pull that yarn through both of those, wrap, pull through the 2 on the hook. So we're doing that all the way around. So every stitch we're working is a decrease stitch. When you get to the end, you should have just 6 stitches across the top. We'll slip stitch to join, but then we are not going to chain 1. We're going to tie off when we get there. All right, so keep going, keep decreasing. I'll meet you at the end when we're down to 6 stitches. Okay, I have finished all my decreases there. You can see I still have my hook in there so I don't lose that last loop. I'm going to cut kind of a medium length tail. Usually I might be a little bit more generous with the length of tail, but because I'm playing yarn chicken, I'm going to make it just a little bit shorter today. So we're wrapping that tail around our hook. We're going to pull through that very last stitch so that we can knot it off, and then that tail is going to get threaded onto our yarn needle, and then we're going to weave that tail through the tops of the remaining stitches. So we're going in the first one, out the next, and we'll do that 2 more times. And when we get back to the beginning there, we will pull on the tail, and you can see it'll close that ending loop off, and then just taking a little leg of that join, pressing the needle through there. We're just making a little simple knot, and we'll pull that as tight as we can. Oh, I came unthreaded. I never tie a knot around my needle there, so it's easier to pull the yarn through. Okay, now anywhere where that knot lays the flattest, we're going to send that needle through the toy, doesn't matter where, and we're just going to pull the tail through, put a little tension on there so when you snip that tail off, it just disappears back inside the toy. So now the body of our little fish is done. He just needs some little flippers so he can swim around. So we will go ahead and do that next. Okay, the first thing we're going to attach is his tail. So we're turning him around, finding that line where everything is joined. We're going to go through a row there. Just so we can add on some yarn here. So we're going to take our yarn, we're going to wrap that yarn around the hook, and we are coming back through there. So you want to leave enough of an end that we can pull that through later and be able to tie off and all that without it being too short. You don't need too much though. You don't want it to get in your way. Okay, so now we're attached. We've started some new yarn. We're going to be working from the back, so where that seam is toward the front of our little fishy. So we're going to chain 4 here. So we're just wrapping our yarn to pull through the loop to make that chain. And once we have those 4, we're going to work our way down the chain. So in that second chain from our hook, so 1, 2, we're going to work a single crochet, wrap our yarn, pull back through there, wrap, pull through both of those. I'm going to do that 2 more times. Going in, wrap, pull up, wrap, pull through 2, and 1 more. It's just keeping, if your tail keeps getting in your way from your beginning there, you just push it out of the way. And then once we finish that last single crochet, we're going to slip stitch into the body. So making sure that the seam is behind us. We're going through right about wherever the next row would be. So you gotta really dig in there. So we're working our way toward the top of our fishy. So once you got through that row, we're gonna wrap, pull up, a little fiddly there. Oh, what am I stuck on? And once you're through, you're just slipping through the stitch you ended with. I will wrap and chain 1. So now that we've chained 1, we're going to turn and we're working our way back up the tail. We're going to half double crochet for 2. So we are wrapping our yarn first. We're going in. We're going to wrap, pull up, wrap, pull through 2. And there are our 2 little half double crochets, and we are going to chain. We're going to turn, and we're going to do that again. So we're working, 2 half double crochets. So we want to wrap first, dive into that stitch, wrap, pull up, and then we have 3, wrap, pull through all 3. 1 more time. And now that we're back near the body, we're going to go through again just that next round and slip stitch through there, chain 1, and we've got 1 last row to go before our tail is done. So again, we're going to wrap, we're going to go in, wrap, pull up. So we've got 3, we're working those half double crochets here. 1 more, and then we can tie off. That's our little tail there. So we're taking our scissors, leaving a little bit of a tail on our tail. And then we can just take our yarn needle, thread the yarn needle, the tails onto the yarn needle, bring them through the tail and through the toy to snip them off. And then we're ready for our top fin. Okay, we're ready for our top fin. So we have our toy kind of facing us. We're going to be starting in the row where the eyes are. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, that 5th row back. We want to find the center. So there are, I believe 8 stitches in between. So we're going right in between number 4 and 4, and from, if you're counting from each eye. So we're just slipping our hook into that round or row. We're going to attach our yarn just like we did with the back tail there, keeping enough of an end that you can get it onto your yarn needle later and pull it through the toy so it's out of the way. So we're just double knotting that to keep it safe. And we're going to chain 1 here, and then in the next row back from the eye. So we're working from the front of the toy toward the back, trying to stay kind of centered as much as we can. We're going in again. We're going to wrap, pull up, wrap, pull through 2, so we're making a single crochet, and we're working our way toward the back of the toy. Our next one will be a half double, so in that round right behind, again trying to stay as centered as we can so we're in line with the middle of the eyes and in line with that tail in the back. So we're pulling up, we've got 3 loops on our hook. We're going to pull through all of those, and we're going to wrap our yarn. This time we're working a double crochet, so that next row back, we're going to wrap, pull up, wrap, pull through 2. So then we have 2 on our hook left. We're going to wrap, pull through both of those, creating that double crochet. We've got one last one here for our top fin. I'm going to create a triple crochet in that last one. So we're going to wrap our yarn around twice. And we're going in to the row just behind where we ended. We're going to wrap, pull up. So now we have 4 loops on our hook. We're going to wrap, pull through the first 2. Now we have 3 on our hook. We're going to wrap, pull through the next 2. Now we're left with 2. We're going to wrap and pull through the last of them. And now we are done with our top fin. All we have to do is snip that away. We're going to wrap around the hook to pull through to tie it off. And just like before, you can take your yarn needle, thread that on, pull it through, thread that on, lace it through that fin there, and pull it through the toy to snip away any extra. All we have left are our side fins. We're almost there. Okay, the side fins are going to be the same on both sides, so you can follow the instructions for the other side. I'm just only going to take you through one. So we're starting one round behind where the eyes are. So the eyes start there. We're going to go into this round and 2 stitches over from the join. So right in here, we're going to take our hook and just go through there. We'll attach that yarn using same way we did before, kind of a medium length tail, and double knotting that on so that it stays. And once we have that, we'll be working toward the back of the fish toy here. So I'll leave my hook in there so that loop stays the size I want it as I make that double knot. I'm just leaving the short end out of the way. I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to make my first single crochet into that same spot. So we're making 1 and then working by the rows back toward the tail. I'm just going through one more time, working toward the tail, going into the round, wrap the yarn, pull it up, wrap, pull through 2. So that's the very first row of our side fin. We're going to wrap, pull up to create that chain, turning our fishy around, and we've got 3 single crochets going this way. One more here, and then we'll chain 1. And we've got a little decrease row here. So we're going to turn. I'm going to have a plain single crochet in that very first one. And then we'll single crochet the next 2 together. Normally, if we were working in the round, we do that blind one, but because we can see both sides of this, we're going to go all the way through both, wrap our yarn to pull up, all the way through both on that next stitch, wrap our yarn to pull up, and then we'll wrap and pull through all 3 to bring us back to just 2 stitches. And we'll wrap our yarn, create that chain, turn. This is our last row for the side fin. So we're going to go again through both loops, wrap, pull up, and then go through the next set of loops. Wrap, pull up, wrap, pull through all 3. Then we can tie off, taking the tails in through the toy again, just like we did with all the other little tails there. Wrap that around to pull through and tie. So all you gotta do is tuck those into the toy, snip them off, and then create that second side fin on the other side, and you're almost done with your little fishy guy. I hope you had fun making this. If you do make one and you want to show me your little fishies, feel free to tag me on Instagram. My Instagram handle is the same as it is here, so it's just Denise Fox Crafts over there. So if you wanted to show me your fishy or your cat friends, I would love that. All right, well, thank you guys so much. Thanks for joining me. Bye.